Hey everybody, it's Brian Burns and welcome to this episode of Career Advice, Hacking Ideas and Ways of Making More Money. Let's get out there and make more money. Get the career that we want. Hey, let's talk about exactly what a resume is and how important is it and how accurate does it need to be, because this is something that people waver on depending on industry and just personality type. And it depends a lot on the person reading it. Now, most managers, maybe my part is biased, that I kind of grew up in the sales area, they look for keywords because they glance at resumes. People don't really study them in most industries. Some people might. I've gone on a lot of interviews. Very rarely did the manager study the resume or even review it. Literally, they would have a beauty contest. You would be one of 5 people on this first round that you would meet. And for some reason, typically through a recruiter, you would want to avoid the online applications as much as possible. You want to get into a job through a referral. And I've got a course on how to do that. And I'll be generating a course for you folks as well about how to get a job. Because it is so critical and so many people get stuck in these minimum wage things. Okay, let's back to the resume. Now, the resume, people take, there's no middle ground here with most people. It's one end where it's like a deposition, where it's a legally binding contract of this is who I am, this is what I did, exactly just the facts, ma'am. And that can be dry, it can be non-inspiring, it can be not very glowing, and then there's the other end of the spectrum where it's a pure piece of fiction. And this was actually inspired by a discussion I heard about somebody getting ghosted by a candidate, meaning that person misrepresented themselves completely. They lied about the company they worked for, everything about it. And basically the hiring manager had worked at that company. So it was like, first rule of lying is be careful who you're lying to, I guess. And so that person who was interviewing was a big company. So they may not have known each other, but certainly there was enough backdoor references, which are the references that count. The references that you give are really just a stepping stone to the references they really want to talk to. They want to talk to people who really know you, but aren't your friends. Not that they're your enemies, but they're their coworkers, people who don't have a vested interest in representing your interest. Not family members, close friends, buddies, any of that stuff. They want backdoor references. They want somebody who's going to give you the full, honest picture. So on the resume, people are looking for keywords. They're looking for what you did. They're looking for things that are wrong with you. If you've gotten the interview, there's enough good stuff on the resume for them to consider it. And some people might study them. I haven't found that. It might be me. So what you want to do is make sure the resume is glowing. It's positive. It has things that the reader wants, not every trophy you got in elementary school. I would get rid of anything that's irrelevant, keep it to one page. Even at the end of my career, my resume was one page. I know people would send in 5-page resumes. And, because you got to understand, it's literally like a web page where people just look at it, or Google results. They're looking for things that stand out. When I was a software engineer, people were looking for the programming languages that you knew how to use. And I remember, it's like SEO. People would say, oh, your resume just screams this. Your resume wants to scream that you're a match for that job, that company. So you can basically quickly customize it for each interview. And don't lie. Too many people lie. But people add master's degrees that they don't have. Now, the old trick, and I've seen this kind of in the sales or business consulting space, is that, like Harvard has a night school, has a an executive program. And you can take one course or you could get a certificate from it. And you're supposed to say Harvard Extension. But a lot of people leave the word extension off and say business school. Now, is that a lie? It's kind of that white lie. You look good in those jeans kind of lie. No, that dress doesn't look too tight. It's that type of friendly, deniable misrepresentation. And, that probably would pass mustard. What doesn't is saying that you got a 3.9 and we're number one in your class, because that's validatable. Now, the thing about a resume is it's going to be put into the file. Unlike the conversation in the interview and people's review of you may not be written up. There might not be an artifact, something that they'll look back at if you're there 5 years later. Now, we always hear about these executives that get canned for saying they went to a school they didn't go to. Now, if you went to one class, you could have a start and an end date. And if they dig into it, you can say, oh, I took some classes there, wasn't sure about the certificate or the master's degree, and I intend to continue that as time allots. Now, that's a reasonable answer to that question. Whether you really intend to or not, that's up to you. But anything that's validatable, like military service or actually working at a company, because most people don't call the company. And legally, most of the companies do not discuss anything for legal reasons because they don't want frivolous lawsuits tying up their legal staff, saying that the HR person said that you were laid off due to performance issues, or that I don't try calling the company and see how far you get. I've hired a lot of people. I've never done it. I typically drill down on people to kind of understand, the role and the job and how they did it. Now, those things that's the critical part of the interview. The resume is really to get the interview. And I think people make it either way too important or they don't put just the key things in it. Like a sales resume is very different than probably a management resume. What people are looking for in a sales resume, just as an example, is that they're looking for stats. What were the big accounts you closed? How much were they for? What was your quota? What did you actually bring in? What was your percentage? What was your ranking among the other salespeople? And that sounds cold and cruel. And, I got to tell you, I'd say 9 out of 10 resumes I saw from salespeople, I would say were pretty fictional, and that's why I didn't pay much attention to them. And it becomes part of a game, that people say, oh, I was number one in the company. No. Number one in my district. How many people were in the district? 2. Oh, or I came in second in the district and there were 2. So, and is that bad? It depends. If you think they're going to drill down, it's bad. If you think people are just going to gloss over it, it's not that bad. And the key part of the interview is really to control it, not let the person interviewing you literally read your resume to you and look you in the eyes and basically with a polygraph on. What you want to do is turn it into a conversation about what they want to achieve with this opening. What do they consider an A player? How would they judge this person? How can I explain my background in alignment with what you would like? What concerns do you have about my background? How can I demonstrate to you or explain to you my level of ambition, hard work, determination, intellect, whatever it is that they're looking for? That is the point of the interview. A resume is not a deposition, and nor is an interview a deposition. It's not a legally binding conversation. If you put a lie down on your resume and it's validated, depending on how serious it is, you might get canned. So have plausible deniability if you do that. I don't encourage it, but it should be screaming that you are a great match for the company. And how you do that in a subtle, polite, professional way is the objective of the resume. I hope this has been helpful. I'm looking to come up with a course for people to get into better jobs. I think the best jobs are in business to business. Business to consumers is tough. There's very little money there. You got to go to places that have benefits, that have the possibility to move up, a place that values people, and a place that's progressing you towards where you want to go with your career. And if I can help you with that, just shoot me an email at brianGburns@me.com. Connect up with me on LinkedIn. That's where I kind of hang out. And let me know what you care about, and I'll get to work on it. Thanks for listening. Also, my website's B2B Revenue, and the 2 is the numeral 2, not the word 2. Thanks.